Miami Dolphins. Yes, they had a brutal injury with Tyreek Hill on Monday night. I think when you rewatch that game, you look at some of the advanced stats, the film, Miami fans should be pretty happy with how things are progressing in a couple different areas. And we're going to go through why I feel so positive despite the injury to Tyreek Hill here in a second. But if you are pumped up about the win on Monday night, finally getting off the schneid, getting the first win of the season, hit that like button right now. I should see 100% like rate because if you're watching this video, it means you're a Dolphins fan in all likelihood. And why aren't you excited about the win on Monday night? It's always nice to beat the Jets. All right, it's debriefing time, though, because obviously the main takeaway from Monday night was the Tyreek Hill injury. And that sucks. There's no way around that. But after a full 24 hours to kind of let ourselves come down from that Tyreek Hill situation, there are a lot of positives that we need to talk about that came out of this Monday Night Football game. And I want to mention them all before we officially move on to Week 5 in Carolina. Well, my number one positive for the Dolphins is that Rasul Douglas is like legit good. Like this is a player that Miami signed super late, right around roster cutdown day, was not a starter to begin the season, was behind Storm Duck, behind Jack Jones, but with Duck's ankle injury, Douglas became the starter opposite of Jack Jones. And he has been, without a question, the best corner for this Miami Dolphins football team. In Week 4 against the Jets, he had an 89.9 coverage grade for that game and shut down Garrett Wilson for most of the night. Like, yeah, he gave up that 25-yard touchdown to Wilson in the fourth quarter late, but I will go to my grave saying this, and I don't care what Coop says because I don't think he could see with his glasses anyway. He said that Garrett Wilson got that foot in. Hell no, he didn't. That shit was on the chalk. I don't know how that got confirmed by the booth so quickly. Kind of a rig job, if you ask me. But either way, Douglas has been phenomenal. Blanketed Garrett Wilson. He did very well against the Bills, and he did very well against the Patriots in the last 3 games he has started. Over the course of his first 4 games, he has allowed just 7 receptions on 13 targets, so barely over a 50% completion percentage. He allowed the touchdown, but that's the only one, and it ultimately meant nothing because it shouldn't have counted anyway. He's had 3 PBUs and only a QB rating of on target of 102.7. And I don't want to overreact, but we showed Rasul Douglas' numbers in the offseason quite a bit as a free agent target. If you remember last season for Buffalo, he had a QB rating when targeted of like 124.8. So a big improvement for Douglas in a new scheme, which prioritizes zone defense way more than man. And if you actually look at his advanced coverage stats as well, it tells more of the story on how good he has been for Miami. You look at his completion rate when targeted over expected, it's actually negative 0.1%. So not much of a difference there, but that just tells you, okay, he's expected to do what he's doing, and he's making the plays happen. His coverage EPA is also basically a net negative, plus 0.3, and his tight window percentage of how many times is he being thrown at, and it's a tight window throw, which means sticky coverage, it's 30.8%. And the average separation for Rasul Douglas in coverage as well is about 1.72 yards. Like, he's been phenomenal for the Miami Dolphins, and I am excited to see him lead this cornerback room. Has the defense been good? No. Is the secondary good? No. But Rasul Douglas is continuing to be better and a rock for that Dolphins secondary, despite some up and down play from guys like Jack Jones, like Cornell Armstrong, Ifeatu Malifonwu, Ashton Davis. The second positive, I mean, we're going to talk about this every week, I feel like, and it's just awesome to see. Patrick Pohl, your second-year left tackle from Houston, second-round pick in 2024, was really good once again. His PFF grades versus the Jets aren't very kind if you look at the overall in run blocking, but look at the pass blocking grade again. Like, Patrick Pohl simply just doesn't lose a lot of reps when he is setting his feet and the defender has to come to him. Does he get beat a little bit sometimes when he has to go out and meet a defensive lineman and get downfield? Sure. That's still a growing pain for Patrick Pohl. Let's not forget, this last start on Monday night was Patrick Pohl's 7th career start. started 3 last year, and this is his 4th this season. So there are going to be ups and downs. But his ups as a pass blocker are the most positive thing so far for this Dolphins season. They're 1-3, but if you want to bring me the biggest silver lining, it's Patrick Paul's pass blocking. He's the 8th highest graded offensive tackle when it comes to pass blocking through 4 weeks. He's only allowed 1 sack charted by Pro Football Focus, not many pressures. Like, when he gets set and he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere because he's so big, he's so strong, he's got such a good center of gravity. You're not going to beat him with a bull rush. So the only chance you have against Patrick Paul is a speed rush or a quick little rip through where you knock his hands down before he can get you and then you beat him that way. But as I mentioned, if he gets his hands on you and you don't knock his hands down, you're done. You're not going anywhere. It's been awesome to watch Patrick Paul work in pass blocking reps. What is your excitement level for the second-year left tackle? I'm fucking fired up. I really am, and I didn't mean to say the F word. I would slipped out. I mean, my natural got me good, guys. Either way, mine I'm at a 10. I'm very fond of the way Patrick Paul is playing. Number 3 is Cole Strange filling in nicely. Very nicey. Shout out to John Gruden. This one surprised me. I didn't know Cole Strange was going to start for the Dolphins against the Jets. It just kind of came out of nowhere on the first drive. I'm watching the game, and next thing you know, I see Cole Strange. I'm like mentally can't speak right now. Cole Strange at right guard. I was, whoa. All right, Cole, I see you. And he played pretty well. Now, he was kind of the inverse of Patrick Paul. He graded out pretty high in overall for Dolphin standards, and he excelled as a run blocker, 69.6 grade there. But he struggled in pass blocking. Those two should be flipped. It's a 38.5 pass block, 69.6 run block grade for Cole Strange. Allowed 2 pressures, no sacks, but he was good in the run game, man, and that's where he excelled as well for the Patriots before he ultimately was waived. And the point I'm trying to make here is that he is better than Keon Smith. He is better than Daniel Brunskill. Just is. We tried Keon Smith for a game and a half against the Patriots and Bills. He was terrible. We tried Brunskill for a half of football against the Bills, and he ultimately kind of blew that game late with some bad pass blocking reps. Cole Strange showed me enough in this game to where we should keep him around after James Daniels returns and after Andrew Meyer returns. Get rid of Keon Smith and Brunskill. Keep the former first rounder out of Chattanooga. More come on up here in a second. But get started with Prize Picks today. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. The right decisions on Prize Picks can get you paid. And Prize Picks is unveiling a lot of new features, which helps playing daily fantasy sports so much fun. One of them is the new stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Devon Achane passing yards or rushing yards, touchdowns, receiving yards? Well, you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. I have an entry in for Week 5, more than Chuba Hubbard rushing yards, more than Jalen Waddle touchdowns, and more than Cam Scatterbo rushing yards. That's my 3-player entry for Week 5. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. I also want to mention this offensive line because James Daniels is progressing towards a return. Week 5 is the final game that Daniels will have to miss. Placed on IR before Week 2, which means he will be out minimum Week 2, Week 3, Week 4, Week 5, which means he's eligible to return in Week 6 against the Chargers. This is hopefully going to be the last week without him. But the point I'm trying to make on this kind of James Daniels, Cole Strange discussion is that Strange played well enough to earn the start in Week 5 against Carolina. And I hope that's the last time we have to deal with backup right guard play. The Dolphins obviously signed Daniels to a 3-year, $24 million contract in free agency this year. And if he's able to return from that pec injury and stay healthy, your offensive line is expected to get even better than what it is now, which is honestly better than what it was last year, and they've had to deal with some injuries through the first month of the year. So hopefully you don't see Cole Strange too often, but he has been relatively solid for Miami ever since joining this roster and getting his first ever start. And I thought it was fully evident when you looked at where the Dolphins ran the football in week 4 against the Jets, because these were the 4 areas where they ran, 5 areas, that they ran it to the most. They ran the most times to the left end, which is outside of the left tackle and tight end. So left end arounds, deep stretch zone runs, sweeps, end arounds. They averaged 5.1 yards per carry on 7 carries. So good work by Alec Ingold out in the open, the tight ends, and Patrick Paul. But the next one was middle left, running between Jonas Savionai and Aaron Brewer. Not the best success there. 7 carries, 20 yards. Next would be left guard, which was between Patrick Paul and Jonah. 4 carries for 17 yards. Very average, 4.3 yards. But this is where I wanted to bring it up. When they ran middle right, which was in between Cole Strange and Aaron Brewer, they had their best yards per carry. 7. 21 yards on 3 carries. Now, obviously, small sample size, but it just shows you that Cole Strange and Aaron Brewer worked very nice as a tandem to spree up some running lanes for Achane and company to be able to have effective runs when running between those two. So I would look to run between those two some more this week in Carolina. All right, number 4 on my week 4 positives. It's going to stick with the run game. Miami finally stuck and committed to the run. This is something that we have asked Mike McDaniel in this Dolphins office to do time after time after time, and they finally listened against a team in New York that really was struggling coming into this game to stop the run. On Monday Night Football, the Dolphins had 28 designed runs. Now, they ran it 31 times technically because we saw 3 Tua scrambles, but designed runs to either Ollie Gordon, Achane, or Malik Washington, 28 of them. That is the number I like to see, and we've seen an uptick week after week after week. Game script ultimately dominated the reason why there was only 10 carries in week 1 because they went down so early, but you can't have 10 carries in a football game. Simply can't. I don't care if you got Tom Brady at quarterback. You can't run the ball only 10 times. Too one-dimensional, too easy to defend. You saw an uptick in week 2, but still not enough with only 15 designed runs. But then you're finally getting to that 20 range. 20 carries in week 3, and then 28 in week 4. I like this trend a lot. And we need to see the run game continue to get leaned on, and we're going to have to see it leaned on even more with Tyreek Hill out. The Dolphins' passing attack will not be as good as it was with Tyreek Hill. So you're going to have to find a way to get more production in another area, whether that is the tight end, whether that is in the run game. I think O-line improvements could really go a long way. These reinforcements of Austin Jackson and James Daniels potentially returning in the next couple of weeks in week 6 or week 7 would really help the run game become more effective because the Dolphins want to lean into their offensive line more this year with Jonah, with Paul, Brewer, Daniels, and Jackson. Well, we haven't seen those 5 together because of the injuries in week 1, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll see that grouping together for the first time this season, and hopefully it's as effective as we all hoped as fans. One more to come here, but if you're looking for daily Dolphins content, 100% free, look no further than here at Dolphins Today. Subscribe now and join the family here because it's going to be a very fun rest of the season and offseason. All right, number 5, it's the defense. They finally forced turnovers. It's about damn time, man. This has been such a frustrating thing as a Dolphins fan to see this defense not be able to show up. And was the defense good against the Jets? No, it was still bottom half in yards allowed and EPA per play, EPA per rush, EPA per pass. But the point I'm trying to make here is that they finally made a couple plays when they needed to. On Monday night against the Jets, they forced 3 turnovers. I mean, Braylon Allen was walking into the end zone, but Jack Jones peanut punches last second, and they forced a turnover. Who knows? If the Jets get that touchdown, it's 7-3 in the first quarter. Instead, Miami's able to get the ball and go up 10-0. That's a massive 14-point swing there, going from down 4 to up 10. That's huge. And then, obviously, they had the 4th down strip sack on Fields in the first half, and then they had the opening kickoff forced fumble and recovery in the second half. Like, that's huge stuff here. Miami going into week 4 was one of 2 teams to not have a takeaway. It was them and the Jets. The Jets and the Dolphins were the only 2 teams not to force a takeaway heading into that Monday Night Football game. Now the Jets are the only team in the NFL that doesn't have a takeaway through 4 games. But the point I'm trying to make here again is that this Dolphins defense is not good. And I'm not trying to act like it is. You're going to give up a shit ton of yards and you're probably going to give up a ton of points. But if you're going to give up a lot of yards, the way that you survive that as a defense is making big plays, whether it's an INT, which the Dolphins don't have an interception through 4 weeks. But if you're able to force some fumbles, that will help combat that. Because if you're giving up a ton of yards, which Miami will do, you're going to need to find a way to get a stop somehow. And forcing turnovers is a way to do that. It also provides your offense with a ton of momentum. What is your biggest takeaway from week 4, that win against the New York Jets? Get down in the comment section and let me know. Mine is Rasul Douglas's play just continuing to get better and better and better week after week. All right, we'll round out the show here. I want to talk about the next month for the Dolphins. They play 5 times in October. Obviously, this October 5th game against the Panthers, and then they end the season or a month against the Ravens at home on Thursday Night Football. It's a great opportunity for Miami. And I'm choosing these 5 games because that number and date at the bottom of your screen. November 4th trade deadline is when Miami's going to have to decide if they're sellers or buyers. These 5 games all take place before the deadline. So if Miami goes 4-1 and they're sitting at 5-3 before the deadline, or 5-4, excuse me, do you buy? Maybe. If you go 2-3 in this stretch and you're 3-6 at the deadline, you should probably sell. Point I'm also trying to make is you got a great opportunity ahead of you. You're in Carolina this week as 1.5-point favorites. I think you should win this game. Then you return home to play the Chargers, where that game becomes very manageable for Miami with Joel out with an ankle sprain. Rashawn Slater's out. Chargers just lost to the Giants. And they're going to have to travel across the country for a 1 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. That's a game you can win. But then you go to Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel's probably going to be starting at quarterback. Yeah, the Browns have an elite defense, but Dylan Gabriel, you're going to lose to him? Play the Falcons, who don't look good. The Ravens have been a bottom 3 defense in football this year. They might be like 1-6 in front of because Lamar Jackson injury. I'll say it again. You have a great opportunity ahead of you to win some games. Do I expect 4-1? No. I actually expect 3-2, though. I think they should beat Carolina. They should beat Cleveland. And they should at least, at worst, go 1-2 against the Falcons, Chargers, and Ravens. But what if you go 2-1 in those games? And now you're 4-1 in that stretch, and you're 5-4 at the deadline. Listen, I'm not writing the season off yet. Had to beat the Jets, you did. Have to beat the Panthers. If you do that, got some momentum going to a game at home against the Chargers where you can win that game and get back to 500. We'll see. It's an opportunity ahead of this football team, how they respond. We'll be here for every step of the way, so make sure you hit that sub button and join us for daily content. If you're still watching and aren't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Sub today.